I have started acquiring cheap storage just to see what kind of treasure I can find on it. Old software, deleted files, possibly lost media too. So, allow me to welcome you back to Archive Dive. I was bored out of my brain the other day, with my mind wandering off, as it does, and I started thinking about VHS recordings, because I'm a sucker for digging through them and looking for treasure. And I realized that, well, I could do the same with second-hand memory cards, USB sticks, and old hard drives too. Not only is there a much larger range of possible things to find on old hard storage devices compared to random VHS tape recordings, there's also much more unpredictability. And that unpredictability leads to surprises, and surprises can be good. Sometimes. In this episode, a 512 megabyte Lexar branded Memory Stick Pro Duo I managed to pick up at a charity shop for just £1. My immediate thought upon finding it was that it might have come from a Sony PlayStation Portable, since they use the same storage medium. That maybe there would be some historic PSP homebrew on there, a compressed ISO of some small-sized PSP launch title, some lost save data for Virtua Tennis, an outdated custom firmware, or someone's old MP3 collection unlistenable to today. My mind raced with the possibilities. Unfortunately not the case, but there's actually something much cooler on here. At first glance, this Memory Stick Pro Duo had come from a digital camera instead. Upon opening the card on my computer, I was immediately met with a DSIM folder, which stands for Digital Camera Images, the standardized formatting for digital cameras. More specifically, this card belonged to a Sony DSC S500 camera, which was easy enough to identify thanks to the embedded metadata in the files. The files, yes. There were 116 photographs and 1 video present on this memory card, and a further 2 deleted photos that I was able to recover using data recovery tools, taking up around half of the card's overall capacity. The camera these were taken with was released in 2006, with the photos themselves having been taken between 2006 through 2009. Assuming the date and time in the camera were set correctly, then it should be easy to ascertain when the photos were actually taken. With all these photographs, I will be blurring out faces, or anything else I believe can be used to identify the people featured in the photographs, such as license plates. If you, yes you, watching, are in any of these photographs and would like unedited copies, email that'sme@escaperoutebritish.com and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll need some proof, of course, such as the dates these were taken. Sometimes family members throw away cards, or like here, they get donated to a charity shop. And other family members don't always get copies of the photos. If there is a loved one in these photos who passed away and you'd like a copy to remember them by, drop me a line. Let's begin. The photographs depict a number of things. Firstly, a set of 3 images showing 2 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels in a rustic room. The next 7 photos show what appears to be a banquet, party or gathering aboard a cruise ship. This is my best guess, based on the interior appearance and the low ceiling. It reminds me of Daisy's Cruiser from Mario Kart Double Dash, which is why I want to say these were taken on a cruise ship. The next 15 photos appear to have been taken in Britain. 3 feature a man sitting in a chair, and 2 of these photos show one of the same Cavalier King Charles Spaniels in frame. The next 2 photos show a group of farmyard animals, and the last one also features one of the same 2 dogs from before. The next set of photos were taken around a week later in Australia. I noticed this immediately because the photos were upside down. First, 5 photographs showing a distinguished looking older lady holding a common bushtail possum native to Australia. The next 5 photos show a kangaroo, and it becomes apparent that the setting of these few photographs is a zoo in Australia. The next image shows an Australian water dragon, again within this park setting. The next 3 photos show a skyline, which Google Lens was able to identify as belonging to Taronga Zoo in Sydney, Australia. So it was an Australian zoo, as opposed to Australian animals in a UK zoo, for example. Was this a holiday to Australia, or was there a more important reason for going, and with an expensive consumer-grade digital camera to boot? Well, yes. The next batch of photographs show a luscious holiday home, which appears to be a traditional Australian cottage. Some kind of family gathering with a gazebo. Then, beautiful photographs of sprawling fields with oleander leaf protea bushes, which are quite popular in Australian gardens despite being native to South Africa. This photograph, while quite amateur in its sudden smeary blur, depicts a beautiful Australian sunset. Next, 4 photos that appear to show family members who have perhaps finally gotten a chance to meet each other for the first time. The following 3 photographs are from a wedding reception from a few months later, presumably back in Britain based on the stone building visible in the shot, likely a church. 17 days later, 2 photos I find rather suspicious in relation to the others, showing a fireplace and what appears to be something having been burned within it. Alongside these photos of the fireplace is one very blurry video clip showing the same fireplace, with just the ambient hum of the microphone. While this probably shows someone struggling to get to grips with the camera controls, the eeriness of the 2 fireplace photos along with the shaky video fills me with a little sense of unease. Maybe I'm just imagining things. My mind just jumps to the exciting though unlikely scenario because it would be interesting. I'll burn the incriminating evidence in the fireplace. Here's a video for proof. Could you imagine? Then something peculiar happens with the metadata, as the next 2 photos were allegedly taken in 2006, which proves how metadata itself cannot always be trusted. It is likely the battery was replaced, which reverted the metadata back to factory settings, while still incrementing the file name for the photos. Both photos depict an interior scene, which I assume was also taken in the UK due to the car license plates just about visible in one photo. It's not a guarantee that it was taken in the UK, but I'd feel comfortable assuming that. The next 2 photos show horses in a field, and the metadata now reads 2009. The next 4 photos, taken the same day, show what appears to be a British countryside property, based on the hawthorn tree in full bloom, which matches with the date saved in the metadata. The next photo, taken some days later, is another photo of an adorable Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. The remaining photos appear to be once again taken in Australia, showing typical brick homesteads found in the Blue Mountains, New South Wales or Victoria. These photos range from exterior to interior shots and include photos of trees, foliage and wilderness, which Google Lens identifies as being Australian bushland. I performed data recovery on the memory card and uncovered 2 more photos, both with metadata a few months later than the last batch of Australia photos. They depict a beautiful Russian blue cat sitting down on a brown leather sofa alongside a red piece of fabric and a person barely in frame. This memory card tells a story over a couple of years, perhaps of a large family that spans Britain and Australia, coming together to have a big knees up. It makes me feel nostalgic for a holiday I didn't even go on, with people I've never met. But more importantly, it makes me nostalgic for a time long, long ago. We now find ourselves in a world of constant online surveillance. A pleasant world like that depicted in these photos, even when they don't show anything truly exciting or special, still makes my heart ache for a time of of simplicity. These photos show scenes where the warmth of the Australian sun brings out the warmth of others' happiness. Photos showing people at peace, having a good time, welcoming positive change into their world. A time now sorely missed. Dare I say, even photos like these make me yearn strongly for a past now long behind us. That's it for the £1 memory card. It contained mostly photos from Australian holidays, family gatherings, and shots of farm animals. I'm sure sleuths could identify more accurately where some of these photos were taken, but it goes without saying, don't go contacting or harassing anybody in these photographs. And remember, if you, yes, you watching, are in any of these photographs and would like unedited copies, email that'sme@escaperoutebritish.com. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. As for what kind of use I could have for this card now that I've purchased it, I'm honestly not sure. It's hardly enough space for a modded PSP setup, but I could put it into stock for a potential PSP repair project, or I may end up acquiring an era-appropriate Sony camera, in which case this card would be nice to have for taking liminal nighttime photography. This has been a rather successful first experiment, I'd say. Hopefully the first of many, provided I continue to find memory cards in charity shops and jumble sales. I'm going to be actively looking, because with memory cards as storage media like these, archaeology is always extremely fascinating. You never know what you're going to find next. I've been Escape Route British. You've been watching Archive Dive. Until next time, if we live that long.